In December 2023, you were diagnosed with thyroid cancer as a junior. Can you tell, like, what was December like before you found out you had cancer?
So your thyroid is in your neck right here, and you could actually see like a lump in my neck. And I think someone pointed it out to me one day. They were like, hey, there's like a lump in your neck. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So I look in the mirror, and when I swallowed, it would like go up and down. And I was like, that is really interesting. And this was probably like, God, I don't even know, like August maybe. So I was like, okay, that's really weird. And then in, I want to say like October, November, I started getting like sick frequently. Like I don't even know what it was, maybe the flu, and I had like fevers on and off. And at one point my throat was hurting really bad, but it was only like one side of it. And so I was like, the
side where the lump was? Okay.
And so I was like, okay, this is definitely weird. So I like told my mom about it. My mom had already known that there was like a lump there. And she was like, okay, that's weird. So we went to the doctor, and my pediatrician was kind of just like, they just like tested me for strep and sent me on my way, and they were like, if it doesn't go away in 2 weeks, come back. And I was like, this thing is not going away in 2 weeks. And so we went back in 2 weeks, and they were like, okay, we're gonna send you to get an ultrasound. So we went to get an ultrasound, and this was in like early November. And I remember every year we go to like a little cabin for Thanksgiving break, and we stay like out in the middle of the woods, and it's like a whole nature-y thing. And so I remember being there, and my mom got the results of the ultrasound back, and she was like, it's a thyroid nodule. So we like did some research, and it could.
Hi, Bird.
Hey.
Bird, you want to be in the conversation?
I don't know exactly what the statistics were, but it was like, I think it was like 14% chance that it was like cancerous. And so we were just like, okay, like it's probably not, like let's just not make it a big deal right now. So then after the ultrasound, once we knew what it was, I went to an endocrinologist, and she was like, yeah, like there is a chance that this is cancerous, but just like don't, like, I'm just telling you, like there's a possibility, but it's not the end of the world. Like just keep going, and like we'll see. And they did a biopsy. So I wouldn't say it was like an operation, but I was in like an operation room. They didn't put me fully out. I was just on like some, I don't know, silly juice or something.
Like when you get your wisdom teeth out and you're like talking about, you're like super loopy. Is that
not that much? Okay. It was a lot more like subtle than that. Okay. It was kind of like an anxiety reducer. Okay. So I went back in the room, and they stuck a needle in it and got like a little microscopic sample, and then like
tested it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the story on when I found out. Okay. It was a Friday. I think it was December 13th. And I was coming home from school, and me and my friends were planning on going to a basketball game that night. And I walk in the house, and both of my parents are just sitting on the couch.
That's scary.
And I was like, I know. I was like, okay, something's up, because normally my dad doesn't get home that early. They like sat me down, and they were like, we got the results back, and it is cancerous. So there's this thing in the medical world called MyChart, and it's like this online database where you can like chat with your doctor, and like results for blood tests and stuff come in there. And so that's how my mom found out, is by like looking at like online and like reading it. And she didn't really know what it was saying, because of course it's in like medical terms. Yeah. So I think she like researched it, or I don't even know, but now she never looks at that anymore, because she's like scarred.
Oh, she's scared like something else is gonna pop up? Or or just that day?
She just waits until the doctor calls us now for results instead of looking herself, because I don't know, she probably gets PTSD. Yeah, so then we just talked about it, and we looked at the causes for it, and it was just completely random. It was if you have it predominantly in your family and it's passed down from generation to generation, or if you live by Chernobyl.
Oh, I'm dead. Wait, did you have it in your family?
No, not at all. I think it was my great uncle had some form of thyroid cancer, but it wasn't even the same kind. So it was just completely random.
So once your parents told you, what was your reaction?
My initial reaction, I was just kind of shocked, and they were too. I could tell that they had talked about it before I came home, and my mouth just opened, and I was and then we talked about it, and then I went upstairs and started crying.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. I feel when people get life-threatening news, they have this realization of I haven't been living life to the fullest, or I've been taking life for granted.
Yes.
Did you experience that?
Yes, definitely. And I don't think it was in that moment, but throughout the whole process, I learned that. And I mean, yeah, I think about that a lot now since this has happened.
After you got diagnosed, you started posting a lot of TikToks about just finding the humor in the whole situation. What made you make the mindset shift from the initial shock and oh my gosh, this could be really bad, to what's the fun in it?
I think I'm a type of person to just find the bright side in things and find the humorous side in things. And I think as bad as it was just me and my friends found humor in it. And me and my family found humor in it. And I had a checkup with my pediatrician a few weeks ago, and we were talking about how that one TikTok about the microwave.
It's you could die from a microwave or whatever.
Yeah, my parents never had a microwave when I was growing up to avoid the radiation exposure, but I still ended up with cancer. And I was joking with my pediatrician with it, and she was I love how you can just see the bright side of it.
When people post openly about hardships in their life, I feel sometimes people can think that they're doing it for attention. So what was your intention behind posting these TikToks? Was it just for fun, or was it something bigger?
So I posted a few stories on Instagram about me in the hospital and stuff, and then the TikToks. I mean, I wouldn't say that I wanted to want it a secret, but I also didn't want to be hey everyone, I have cancer. The TikToks were more I posted those on my more low-key friends only TikTok. So those were more of the humorous ones. And then as far as the Instagram stories, I just felt I mean, it was a big part of my life, obviously, and I think that people should know that it can happen to anyone. And if anyone had any family members or loved ones that were going through it, then just to know that you're not alone. I wrote about this in my college essay, how I grew up vegan, and I was on a competitive gymnastics team my whole life, and I played sports, and I played softball and volleyball, and I ran track, and I mean, it can still happen.
I remember I was in Target, and Ava called me, and she told me, and I was I was so shocked because you're so healthy, you're vegan, and your parents take such good care of their health and stuff. So I was what in the world? So after you got your diagnosis, you went immediately into treatment, right?
Yeah.
What was your headspace before your first procedure?
So before I had found out it was cancer, I had the biopsy, which they just like stick a needle in it, but it was like in an operating room. And then after I found out it was cancer, I had another one of lymph nodes, which that one was way worse because they had to like dig around in there and like find them. So since I had gone through those two things before like the actual surgery, it made me a little bit more comfortable because I just like was aware of like the surroundings in the room. But I'd never gotten actual surgery before, so I was a little bit nervous because I'd never been under anesthesia, and I just like wasn't very experienced with the whole process. But I knew I was in good hands because I had already met all my surgeons and all the people I'd be working with. So I would say I was a little bit nervous, but I knew I was going to be taken care of.
As you continued to get treatment in these procedures, how did your daily routine change, like having to manage the stuff outside of being at the hospital?
Since I had my thyroid taken out, I have to take medication every morning to like fulfill the hormones that I got taken out or whatever. And I had to take care of my scar, so I put scar tape on and sunscreen, and then took my pill every morning. And there were some times where I would go like a week or 2 weeks without my medication because I would have like body scans or blood tests to see where my levels are at. So that was really difficult because the symptoms of that are like you're extremely tired, and the thyroid controls like metabolism and other like hormones. But I was having like really bad so yeah, there were a few weeks at a time where I would have no medication, and that was hard because I could like barely get through the school day, and I would just go home and nap. And because of that, I had to cut my track season short because I wasn't always able to make the meets and even like make it to practice because my symptoms were so bad and it was just too much to like try to do. And then as far as like appointments, I couldn't control the time or day of my appointments at all, so I ended up missing a lot of school because I had checkups with my surgeon, with my endocrinologist, which is like the hormone doctor almost. I lost my voice for 3 months after surgery, so I had to get scans of my vocal cords and all kinds of things.
When people have change in their life, they're like, okay, I don't want things to change so much, so they like resist having to do the things that they know that are best for them.
Right.
Did you ever feel like, because you were doing like track, volleyball, like all these different sports, did you ever feel that resistance where it's like, I know I need to rest, but like I just want to keep going?
Definitely. That was probably my second or third season running track, and I've been playing volleyball since I was like 10. So it was definitely like I had to take a pause and I had to listen to my body, and I kind of knew that it was going to happen because all of my doctors were like, yeah, like once you go off the medication, you're going to feel it. You're not going to want to go to school. You're not going to want to do sports. So I kind of expected it, and I didn't want to stop, but I couldn't even get through the school day. So I knew that it wasn't an option for me.
So as I said earlier, you were a junior in high school, which is one of the most important years of high school. And you were saying how, you couldn't even get through the school day and like you're missing a lot of school. So did you have worries about how you were going to manage school with so much going on in your personal life?
Yeah, since I was missing so much and sometimes like wasn't feeling up for doing my schoolwork and whatever, I definitely did worry about that, and especially like taking my SAT and all of my AP classes. Like it was a lot to handle. But once again, like I talked to my teachers, and I had awesome teachers who understood, and they would say like, if you can't do this assignment or whatever, just don't worry about it. Like your health comes first. So I think that definitely helped a lot. But I just tried my best to get it all done and not to worry about the other stuff when I'm focused on school.
Whoa. Hi guys, good morning. That's insane. That's so many people.
Okay, for bike squad. Anyways, yeah, I mean, it was definitely very hard, but
Yeah.
I feel like I got through it to the best of my ability.
How would you say you balance that personal life and school life? Like, for someone who's kind of experiencing the same thing, what advice would you give them?
Ooh, aw,
It's so cute. Hi. Okay.
I would say just set your priorities straight and listen to yourself. If you need a break, then take a break. People are going to understand, and you don't need to stress yourself out too much. Just, take a breather.
At school, did your friends treat you differently because they knew that you had cancer and you posted so openly about it?
No, not at all. Like, my friends were very supportive of the whole situation, and I think one of the big roles that they played was just like distracting me when I was feeling like overwhelmed or whatever. I would just go and hang out with them.
What about your sports teams? Like, did your dynamics change in the role that you played in your sports team?
Yes, so it didn't really change for track, but volleyball was kind of a different story because I had been on that. This is club volleyball, so this isn't like school stuff. I had been playing for that club for, I think that would have been my 3rd season, and so I had been there the longest. And at the beginning of the season, I was the team captain, and I played all the way around every rotation. But then when I got surgery in early January, which is kind of the beginning-ish of the season, I was out for at least 2 weeks. During that time, I got the impression that my teammates finally had like connected and started becoming friends more, and like talking outside of the volleyball gym, and like even on the court too. Like, you could tell that they had just kind of like solidified when I was gone. And when I had come back, my voice was gone because it was gone for like 3 months after surgery. So I couldn't really like talk to them because volleyball gyms are loud, and there's whistles, and there's girls all over the place, and it's echoey, and I like literally struggled to talk to them. And I wasn't captain anymore. I didn't play all the way around anymore. So that was really difficult because the rest of the season I just kind of felt like I didn't really know what was like going on. I was just like questioning, how did this happen all when I was away? But all of my teammates were super sweet, and like some of them sent me like flowers, and I got a teddy bear, and like a bunch of them wrote me notes and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful for them. But it just wasn't what I had in mind.
When a close friend or family member is going through something, I feel like we have a natural tendency to want to support them, but sometimes we just don't know how or like the best way to support them. And I feel like I definitely experienced that like questioning of like, will they even want my support, or like, will they think I'm being ingenuine? So what advice would you give to someone who's like, I want to support, but I don't know how they'll take it, or like, I don't know the best way to support them?
I got so many forms of like support, whether that be like a box of goodies or just a note or just a text, and I'm grateful for all of them. So I would say just like whatever you're comfortable with. If you're closer to that person, then like maybe you'd want to do a little bit more, or if you haven't talked to that person, then just a text. Just whatever you feel is necessary and whatever you feel comfortable with.
So you were in a relationship prior to your diagnosis, and after you guys broke up, like a few months after your diagnosis, you guys broke up. Did your cancer journey influence that decision?
Yes, 100%. I'm not going to go too much into detail here, But I was going through a lot at that moment, and I'm the type of person to be more independent and like know that I'm good by myself and I don't need to be in a relationship. And there was just better things that I needed to be focused on at the time, and I didn't feel the need to try to like fulfill something that I needed that effort in other places to make sure I was okay and support myself first. And some things were said that probably weren't meant or were taken the wrong way, just because it was like uncharted territory for both of us. And I mean, it's hard when the person you're in a relationship with is like has that much going on in your life, and sometimes you don't really know what to say, or if you think you might want to say something, you won't know if it's supportive or not, or if the other person will take it a different way.
How did that affect you with everything else going on in your life, like that added change after the breakup?
I would say the biggest thing was just that like I didn't have that person to go to all the time and to talk about anything with, and that knew everything that I was feeling and everything that was going on. I kind of had to lean on other people for those kinds of things, which was kind of difficult. So yeah, I would just say like losing the person that I could talk to about any of this. But I knew that it was better for me in the end.
Yeah.
So.
What advice would you give to the version of yourself who just found out they had cancer?
It's going to be really hard, but like you're able to get through it, and like it's just happening. Like you don't have another choice. And you're in good hands, and you're going to be taken care of, and you don't need to let it like get to you. Like just keep living your life and don't dwell on what you're going through, and don't let that affect you or your personality or your relationship with your family or your friends, and just try to stay positive.
What would you say is the biggest positive that's come from your journey?
The amount of times that I was in the hospital and just seeing the other kids, and most of the time I was in the like radiation wing, and I saw so many little kids with cancer, and like they were bald and they had masks and like caps covering their heads, and like just sitting in the waiting room like watching the show that was on, and I just like felt horribly for them and their families. And I think it just kind of opened my eyes, and in that moment I was like, wow, like this is real. So now I know like I'm trying to like help that as much as I can. For my 17th birthday, which was this past May, I decided to get donations from everyone and donate it to a childhood cancer fund.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
The other positive was before this whole experience, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life, like career-wise. And I came across this career called Child Life, and it's like a in-hospital therapist for kids, like at children's hospitals, and they like go with you into the operating room. Like when I had one of my biopsies, I had one in there with me, and she would just like talk to me and play music, and was just kind of like my friend when my parents couldn't be in there with me. And it might be something that I would want to pursue because I love working with kids, and I love like the psychological part of it.
On the day that you found out you had cancer, you posted a Snapchat captioned, "This might possibly be the worst day of my life." knowing how much you've grown and like the positives that have come from this, would you still agree with that?
Well, part of the reason why I posted that was because that morning I got my SAT score back and it wasn't that good. So I was kind of like upset about that in the morning, and then it like carried on throughout the day, and then I got home and found out I had cancer. So everything just kind of like came down on me at once. Like, knowing now, I wouldn't say that was the worst day of my life. Yeah, I would just say it was the start of a really bad era and probably like the worst time that I've been through so far.
Do you ever wish that you didn't get cancer?
Ooh, I wouldn't say that. I would say, like, obviously it was very hard for me physically, emotionally, and mentally. But I don't think I would change anything about it, just because it's kind of made me who I am today, and it's taught me so many lessons. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything about it.
So something I've been reflecting on is like when you want to think about like living life to the fullest, and people are like, you're on a tiny rock, so like live life to the fullest, whatever. And it's like, do whatever like you feel like you want to do. But then there's also the aspect of like the fact that you may not die today, or like when people are like, you might die today, so you should live life to the fullest, but you also may not die today, so like you should be practical and like make decisions that would benefit a future you know what I'm saying? And like having that mindset of like you may not die today can make you stop doing things and like put it off to the future. So you said that like you kind of had that experience of like, I'm taking life for granted. What would you say is like a good way to find balance between like, I don't want to take life for granted, but I also don't want to push things and put it to the future?
I would just say to just like do whatever makes you happy. Like, live enough to where you're like fulfilled, but don't underdo it to where you're like regretting it. But yeah, that's like a good thing to think about, because I agree, like you don't want to like, I don't know, jump off a cliff and be like YOLO, like, because you might actually die.
Yeah, like if this is my last day, like I would be doing so much different stuff.
Yeah,
but, like,
exactly.
What if it's not my last day?
Exactly, you just never know.
What would you do if this was your last day to live?
Ooh, girl.
You may go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I would just like talk to more people, because I feel like something I fear when I die is just like not being able to experience humans or like talk to humans. Just being able to witness and like have the opportunity to talk to those people, I feel like I would miss that.
I would say just like spreading the love and like telling everyone that I love them, and then just like a nice moment for myself, you know? Like just reflect and kind of just like decompress, and a nice like peaceful vibe.
Last question, which I just came up with. If someone was going through a tough time, what Taylor Swift song would you recommend they listen to?
One for specifically like my cancer and like my health journey. She wrote a song about her mom having cancer.
Really?
And it's called Soon You'll Get Better. And sometimes I like felt kind of weird listening to it, because I'm like what am I doing? But I mean, like the lyrics are powerful. And for me, like it just kind of reminded me that like so many people are going through this, and like there's so many people that it's like a community. Like everyone has different experiences, but at some point they're like similar. It's such a like, it is different when you hear a song and it's like the lyrics, like it's wrote for you. Exactly. It's like, yeah, like I'm gonna listen to this every day. Like, let's go. Okay, thank you for coming on. Honestly, I think this is gonna be like a really good episode. Like my audience is like teens and like teen mental health, but I feel like anyone of any age could listen to this and like take something from it. So thank you. I'll go promote it. Thank you.
Thank you for being that source for other people.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, okay.
Thanks for having me.
Like and subscribe. Yeah.